Are you feeling the increase in the collective energy and maybe having a lot of anxiety, sadness, and pain? Then this video is for you. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name's Fola, and here on Deep Mind Squared, we talk all things bridging mental wellness and spirituality for nurses. As nurses, we are the caregivers. It's this archetypal energy of being able to show up, nurture, and care for others. And so we put ourselves in some pretty intense situations and can oftentimes take on other people's energies, their stress, their pain, their worry, and also pick up on the good things, which I guess that's a nice way to go about it. What about when we are in the midst of a collective, global experience that can really start to have a heavy weight on our lives? And I feel this is what's happening right now. Having conversations and seeing folks in my life who are really coming to terms with all the world's situation, this is really becoming a challenge. And I know for myself, being, that sensitive caregiver, empath, whatever we want to call it, it can be very challenging most days to just let everything kind of go. It's so important that we surrender. So in this video, I want to talk about some ways we can go about doing that, how you can support yourself and really balance your energy. Before we get into all that though, I invite you to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're updated on future video releases. And feel free to check out the other videos on the page where there's lots of energy work and healing, like the Reiki videos, ways that you can support your own personal healing and development through a variety of tools such as psychedelics and plant medicines and other personal development ways. So right now in the world, as you can see, there is a lot of intense stuff happening. It's are we at the brink of another world war with Russia and Ukraine happening? There's people who are still very fearful and concerned about COVID, with a lot of the restrictions being lifted in some areas and people feeling like their rights and their freedoms are being taken away. And so there's just so much collective energy around control, around wanting to feel safe. And this also stems into our ancestral lineage. And this is a lot around the shamanic healing work that I do. When we go about our lives, we think we're just these one person individual sort of entities. But in actuality, we are connected very much so to our ancestors. So the generations before us and the generations to come. And it's literally in our blood, in our DNA, it's in your cells. There are these messages and imprints from whatever it was your ancestors went through in their life. So it's super, super important that you become aware of the fact that you aren't just carrying your own traumas and your own pains, but also those from your ancestry. So right now with all the things happening, I know for myself, these past 2 years, being a mixed black, white woman, it's been super intense, acknowledging all these sort of internal and external issues around control and power. And now with the state of the world going into whatever it's going into, I think a lot more people are being activated by these experiences. So it's just really important that we at least start with acknowledging that we might be struggling. We might be having moments of tearfulness, sadness, a lot of anxiety, probably a lot of anger as well if you've felt any of these things. And you also might be feeling really numb, right? These are all parts of the fight or flight freeze response of a trauma response. This is what our nervous system is meant to do. It's supposed to respond to energies and situations, events, that then we are able to make the next step that works best for us. So it's totally understandable that these things will happen. It's about recognizing it and then let's figure out what's the next step. At this point now, you've acknowledged some of the feelings and had the chance to maybe just have some compassion towards yourself. I feel like I talk about compassion a lot on this channel, but it's super important. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just this is part of the world and the life experience. And we have the opportunity to sit with these dark parts of ourselves, these shadows, and just let them be, acknowledge them, and know that, okay, there's something about this that can be alchemized. So how do we go about doing that? What I'm going to start doing on the channel is holding regular prayer and energy healing sessions. People can gather and just set the intention as a group, probably on a live video, to send healing out to wherever it might be in the world that's needing it, especially right now in Europe, where there is just so much disaster and pain and fear really building, and we can see it rippling into other places in the world. So feel free to join in some of those. I think you can do this work as well on your own, just really setting more intention, more prayer time into what you'd like to see the world become. Do we want unity? Do we want peace? How can we send love to people who might be suffering right now? And how can we let that show up in our everyday life? So prayer, setting that intention, spending time to direct that healing energy. Again, you don't need to be like a Reiki level 1 or any like certified person to do this work. It's just you simply being human and having the heart and coming from that heart space. And I think this extends then into our personal healing. Like I said before, there's so many other videos on this channel talking about ways to go about personal healing. For myself, some of the things I do are like the Reiki and the shamanic healing, and also plant medicines. I find that to be very healing for me when I go in with a conscious mindset. But we need to be doing our own personal work. We keep like having these conversations about like us versus them and blah, 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 blah. And everyone's trying to like push and exert this like negative view about something that's actually them onto or projected onto another individual or a group of people or a concept, an idea, whatever it might be. But it's like, if you allow yourself to truly sit with that, you can know and hopefully come to accept that that is also a part of you. Like for me, when certain people get really angry about things and it's like their anger is coming at me, I really have to sit with it. It's like, okay, I know that I too can become angry. Maybe what is it that I'm angry about right now? And what can I like look into or be aware of that is around that anger? And hopefully do the healing around that in whichever way it is that I feel called to. And this might even be as simple as me just doing some self-care, like having a bath one evening, allowing myself just to chill instead of like, committing myself to meeting with someone or doing work or whatever. It's like just finding that time for me. And so I encourage you to take like the time and really just check in for yourself what may be necessary for you to support your healing. And when we talk about ancestors, I think it's so important that we're doing ancestor work, ancestor healing. Doesn't matter what your skin color is, where you come from, how little or how much you know about your ancestors or your lineage. Everyone has this inside of them. And I hear this often with folks here in Canada. They might be like European descendant, multiple generations since they the family came to Canada, and there's such a disconnect to their ancestral lineage. I know that can be a hard one to connect with, but I think it's super important that we hold space for our ancestors. And you can do this through a multitude of ways, as simple as just, praying to your ancestors and acknowledging them, maybe by name, maybe having a conversation with a loved one who has a lot of the stories of the family and that can kind of tap you into how things were and who people were and are within the family line. And you could also build like an altar. This is something that I find really helpful, to have images of certain ancestors on my altar, dedicating this altar to that family line and offering things that they enjoy. And this is very much part of my lineage, but I think anyone and everyone can do this. Make it whatever it is for you, and acknowledge that you don't have to like connect with every ancestor, because there's some who just might not be the most positive, and that's totally fine. But there's some healing that wants to come through. So maybe you're getting like messages from certain ancestors, or just thinking about them, like that grandmother, that uncle or whatever. Like allow yourself to connect through visualization, through building an altar even, or however way you feel called, through prayer, whatever it might be, so that you can start to build and have the communication with this being, this part of your family lineage. And again, whatever's happening right now in the world, like sometimes I feel like I might be a little jaded about things, being that I lived in like a war, if I can call it a war, gone through some interesting experiences, seen some pretty dark places in my own life and in other people's lives, working within psychiatry for like 11 plus years. really checking in with the self again, like I said, that it's not a numbness or dissociation, which can also happen, but we are truly right now in this like trauma response. People are going to be going in all sorts of different directions. People that you really care for and you've had really strong relationships with, they might completely change at this time. And this might mean even within your workplace, wherever it is that you're working. And it might be really hard. You might have to let some things go. You might have to set some real boundaries for yourself, tell people no, maybe step away from that workplace, maybe change your position so you're working less, whatever that might be. And sometimes that might also mean leaving the nursing career, which for myself, I had to step away from a lot of that due to my own moral distress and feeling like, yeah, it was time to go. So I really encourage you to just take care of yourself, connect. If you need to reach out, I do work with people one-on-one. Would love to just hold space for you and to remind you again that you're not alone, that we are all beautiful humans on this planet Earth, and we have the ability to create change when we create the change internally, and then it starts to mirror out. So do that work for yourself. Know it's possible. It's not always going to be easy and fun, but it is rewarding. So appreciate you checking in this video, and I look forward to seeing you all in another video. Feel free to hit the like and share button so that other people can see this message, and let's take care of the world. I think we got it. Talk to you all soon.